The goal is to show you all how to modify the knob and the handle to add just a little bit more detail to it. If I guess 2 classes ago now technically, if that class was about how to sweep and loft to build a simple knob and handle, the goal now is to give you all tools to like add embellishments to them so that you can add more design and apply things like repeated texture or whatnot to it. Some of this should be familiar. So like I'm holding a knob in my hand right now. I pulled it off of this thing. Hopefully everyone can see it has like these grooves on it. No? Here, pass this around. Just think about like the caps on bottles, right? The same way we made a pattern array. You might want to do that on a knob at the top to add grip. Actually, if I can pick on Max here, I think he did it to show you what I'm talking about. So just think about some of these details and embellishments as you build these files. Again, especially, I didn't mean to pick that one, but that's a good example. Think about these details as you work on your file. So again, think about the grips. The knob that's being passed around now has grips like this. And again, this is very similar. You should all know how to do this. This is what we did on the water bottle, right? So just hold this in your thought as you go along. So long introduction to say, today's demo is about adding embellishments, all right? So, and again, I invite you to take notes on the page I gave you. There is no right or wrong way to do this. Again, it's all just suggestions. Some knobs have what's called, have bezels, or handles could also have bezels. A bezel is kind of like a ring. It might be a chrome accent or a separate part that's an accent color. These are other things you can consider. So the knob demo is all about adding a bezel onto the base here. So the demo asks you to start by rolling back up a little bit here before the fillets, because it's better to have fillets at the end. We take a new sketch on the front plane. That's what the first thing is showing you rolling the bar up. The next thing is saying create a new sketch on the front plane. Hitting L for align, and basically we're just sketching a bezel that we're going to revolve around the knob. Honestly, the dimensions don't matter. This is just for reference. I would leave a slight gap here. If we talk about modeling things that look real in SOLIDWORKS, keeping slight gaps in between pieces look more real in the rendering. It's a slight part line. If you don't know how big to leave that gap, I would say like 0.02 inches. That's like half a millimeter is probably a good size for a gap. Again, it doesn't matter. It's all visual. You can judge it yourself. So we start with this. You do have to make a straight line in the middle. That's for construction. This gives us a point which to revolve around. If you are in this sketch, you can simply then go to Features and go to Revolve Boss Base. Again, you'll notice I didn't dimension it. For this demo, it doesn't really matter too much. And now already, hopefully, you all can see that our knob looks like it has a little bit more to it with this bezel. I've been meaning to show you this and I keep forgetting, so I'm going to use this opportunity to show it. It's not on this sheet. If you right-click on a body, there's this little like beach ball with a pencil. If you do the drop-down arrow, it will give you a couple options, the face, the feature, or the part itself. What I want to select here is the body. And what this does is it's going to bring up a dialog that allows you to change the color. This is not necessary because we learn Keyshot for this, but if you want to add like some visual modifications to the files you're working on, this is a simple way to do that. Click that checkbox. So now it's like you can visualize what the knob might look like in black plastic with a chrome bezel. Once again, just to repeat that, it's a right click on here. It's this icon that looks like a beach ball. If you hover over it, it says Appearances. And again, you want to modify the body. Okay, so we've revolved our bezel now. The next thing the sheet has you do, and this is one of the new things today, is how to create a plane. Okay, I've mentioned it before, but I'd like to talk about it in more detail. So the next thing the sheet has you do is create a sketch on this front plane. So Alt-S. Here again, it's somewhat ambiguous. I'm having you just sketch an arc that comes close to this line here. Again, for the demo, it doesn't really matter. We're just looking for a way to add like a bit of a feature onto this bezel. It's dimensioned in the sketch or on the sheet. It doesn't have to be dimensioned. Again, we're just looking for something close like this, half moon arc shape. This is kind of like a loose Jenga tower. Obviously, if you want to be able to modify this and change it, then you should have dimensions and stuff. That's where it's useful. I'm going to hit Alt-V, V as in view, to see that sketch that we created. And now here is probably the one new thing today. You go to Insert, Reference Geometry, and Plane. I apologize on the sheet. How about that? But it's on the second row on the knob side of the sheet. It's on the second row to the far right, second row from the top. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention on the sheet. It does read like a comic book, left to right, going down. So again, new feature today is inserting a plane. It's Insert, Reference Geometry, Plane. This is the way that I like to use this feature. I find that it works the best by picking a line and a point and making it perpendicular. That way you only have to select two aspects to define your plane, and you can base it on a sketch. Like you can use your master sketch to set these up, or in this instance, we're using this sketch to set it up. So the first reference here is the arc itself, and the next reference is a point. You can pick either one, it doesn't matter. And SolidWorks defaults to setting it to be perpendicular to the line and coincident to the point, and that's exactly what we want. This is also incredibly useful for sweeps, because again, you want the path to be perpendicular to the profile. So we've created a plane here now. Again, it's perpendicular to this line on this point. We're now going to immediately take this plane and Alt-S to create a sketch on it. And it's just a simple pressing O to create a circle. Again, it doesn't really matter for this demo the size. You will probably have to come back and play with it. Exit the sketch, and now we simply have a profile and a sweep path to follow. Instead of doing a positive sweep, we're going to do a cut sweep. So again, I don't know if you remember on day one, all of the features often come in pairs. For every there's a positive feature and a negative feature, an addition and a subtraction. So we're going to do a sweep cut, which is the subtraction. When you click on that, it's going to ask you, hey, what do you want the profile to be? I'm going to select this here. When it asks you the path, we're going to select this that we use to create our plane. You should notice that it intersects with the bezel. Click check, and now we have this cut in. If I let you into my head of what I intended, I'm going to edit this. That cut too much, so I'm just going to shrink this a bit by dragging it, and now I'm going to exit out. That's what I was going for. And that's a good way to use SolidWorks, where you edit the file and change it. If you were looking down and missed it, I will just do it again one more time. You will probably have to come in here and modify the size of your circle so that you get the right cut. If it's really too big, it's a big chunk out of here. Again, for the demo, it doesn't matter. If you don't want to fuss with it and just pattern it as this cut, I don't care. This method, though, of getting this like very small teardrop shape is like, it's one way to get this kind of grip detail in here. So again, sometimes it takes a couple edits to get it small enough. Sometimes you go too small, you didn't take enough material out. But now this kind of grip detail, this could then, hopefully you could imagine this could also be repeated in the handle as well. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is do a circular pattern. Here we are going to pattern the feature of the swept cut. And here for direction, I often said to take the center axis, but I believe Max pointed out you can select an edge, makes our life easier. You can change this number, it doesn't matter what it is. Click check. This is the main goal for this demo. Then go in and finish your fillets. Reminder to everybody that you can do a couple things. One, you can fillet on a face. So I can select this face here. It's going to think for a long time. That's maybe the negative of filleting on a face. I mean, this is a pretty small fillet, but it's there. Also, what I saw, you can also like select multiple edges with the same fillet. Just a reminder, you can do that. So this is just, again, a goal to show you all how to embellish, add an embellishment to a knob by adding what I'm calling a bezel. Bezels can be at the base or at the top or both. You can have a cap on the top. So now we're off the sheet. You could, however, this is a preview of the handle. There's a new feature called split. So I have this line here. I can now select the split command. It's using that sketch I just did. I can now select the top face. So the way this works is the split has a sketch it's based off of. Down here, if I click down here, I can select either side of that sketch and click the checkbox. And now I have the top face separated from the bottom face. If I throw fillets on this, again, maybe like the smallest fillet you should really have is 1 millimeter, but you could do 0.5 millimeter like I'm doing now, or 0.02 roughly. Now when you render this, it's going to look like you have a part line here, which is what you're going for. Again, I can change this color to be black, so it looks like we have a black plastic knob. Now with a bezel and a chrome cap. Any questions on that? Should I pause? Yeah, go ahead, Max. When it comes to where? Oh, when you create the plane? That's probably gonna have to be me walking over there, so I'll come back to that. Other Max. Yes, it does.
So when you apply the same color to different things, it's making one look?
I believe it does. So, okay, the question was, when you apply a color to a body and you import it to KeyShot, will that color come through, and will it group things together? The short answer is for sure. So if I import this into KeyShot, it will come in light gray, black, light gray. I have to double check, but I'm fairly certain that if I now drag a material like a chrome onto this top cap, it should also apply it to this bezel. I'm like, let's call it 75% sure that that's how it works. I have to double check. You don't need to. No, it's not necessary. You figured it out, Max? Okay, good.
So, but if you not color code, it's all you're gonna drag the material that's gonna be applied to this.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, and I'll show you how. Yeah, like break, right. So the short answer is you don't have to color code it, but to Anastasia's point, it might make your life easier if you take the time to color code it in SolidWorks first. It's to each their own preference. I would argue that you're going to have to do that step sooner or later. It's your choice whether you prefer to do it in SolidWorks or KeyShot. That's the basics of it. This cut here? This, oh, at the top? I'll go over that again, the split. I'll go over that again. Okay, cool. Any questions on the knob? Other questions? Okay.